Hi, I'm Christopher. Today we are going to be doing a full walkthrough of our very own Sprinter framing kit that we designed here in-house at Noke Co. Before we begin, I want to go over 3 key details that you will want to consider before starting the installation. First, you will want to prepare your Sprinter interior for the installation. You can do this by removing plastic wiring harness covers, floor D-rings, cargo lights, B-pillar foam blocks, and headliner transition foam. You can also install any sound dampening treatments, like kill mat, before starting with your framing system. Second, some tools you will want to have on hand for the installation process are as follows: wood glue, rubber mallet, 3 10-ounce tubes of Loctite PL Premium Construction Adhesive, caulking gun for 10-ounce tubes, brad nail gun, 1 1/4 brad nails, 3/8 socket, ratcheting socket wrench, adapter for hex socket to impact driver, right angle driver attachment, powered impact driver, number 2 Phillips bit, drill, 1/4 drill bit for steel, 3/8 drill bit for steel, measuring tape, and safety glasses. Lastly, be sure to follow the framing installation instructions that we provided with your kit. It's important that your framing system operates as intended for maximum safety and full functionality. Assembling the kit out of order may prevent some parts from installing as intended. And with that, you are ready to begin. Here is Dan, our head of product development, to guide you through the full installation process.
It's important to note that all the parts in this kit have a part number etched onto them, and all the parts are just slightly different in different sections of the van, so pay attention to the part numbers. Notice that there is some wiggle in the parts as its first installation. That'll get locked in tightly later. This is the main upper horizontal, and it gets locked in to all of the C pockets of the upper verticals. Okay. So we've spaced all of the upper verticals to fit into all of these notches, and now one by one we can slide them together. The spacer block on the rear of all these verticals is touching against this metal edge, and so that sets the forward to backward position in the van. Now that all the pieces are locked together in the right position without glue, I'm going to mark the metal of the rough location of each of these verticals so that when we take this off and add glue to it, the verticals go back in the right positions. Now that we have the markings for the positions of our upper verticals, then we can remove the horizontal, add glue to all of our verticals, and put it together for the final assembly of this top part. This portion of the upper verticals hooks onto the van metal, and this face touches the van metal, and so that's where I'm going to add the Loctite PL. Now I'm going to reinstall the vertical at my marked locations. Next we add the spacer block for the final installation of it. I add wood glue on the contacting face between the spacer block and the vertical. Slide it into place, and then add a nail to hold it while the glue dries. Now that we've started getting glue assembly on the upper wall, then we want to keep going on to finish this upper wall portion before those glues cure. For each of the C connections between the horizontal and the upper verticals, I'm going to add wood glue to the three faces that contact the upper vertical. Now we reinstall the upper horizontal into the upper verticals and slide together the C connections. In this case, the verticals are in their correct position, and so we're going to be sliding the horizontal towards the rear of the van to engage it into the position of the verticals. Ensure that all of these connections are perpendicular and your spacer block is still touching the van metal before you put a brad nail into each of those joints. For each brad nail that you put into the wood connections, ensure that the nail stays fully buried inside the wood. Otherwise, if the nails are sticking out, they may catch and damage your wiring that you run through the walls. Or if that nail touches the metal part of the van, it may cause a squeak point in your van over the long term. Wipe off excess glue so that it doesn't interfere with the later parts of the installation. With wood glue on the connections between this upper horizontal and the verticals, we're going to install it to the upper C pockets. You can begin to engage each of these joints to the final position. You can brad nail into each of these joints. Then, to make sure before the glue dries, ensure that the wood of the spacer block is touching the metal back here, and that the wood in each of these hooks is touching the metal fully seated downwards. They clip together. So the C connection fits into the slots here first, and then as the horizontal slides towards the rear of the van, it engages with the chamfers between the horizontal and vertical. Each of the joints started, and then making sure they're fully seated. Slides all the way to contact the horizontals towards the rear. Now we're going to bridge the upper horizontals from the front and the rear with these bridge clips that have a similar C-type connection. I'm going to add glue to the three contact faces Slide it together. And then ensure the pieces are nicely aligned before nailing. Notice at the top of our upper verticals, we do have another contact point between wood and metal. I have not yet put the Loctite PL there in that joint yet, because once the ceiling ribs go in, it will set the exact position of these with respect to the van. So we'll use PL at that point. Next, we're going to install the lower driver's side wall, and if you want, you can lay out your parts ahead of time. First, we're going to place our lower horizontals in front and behind the wheel well, up against the wall and on top of this weld seam on the floor, and this will dictate where our lower verticals will get placed in these notches. For installing the lower verticals, I'm going to add the Loctite PL to the hook into the metal on the bottom, and we will not yet add the Loctite PL to the upper contact face. We will do that soon, and we will not yet add the wood glue between the lower horizontal and the vertical. I'm repeating this step for one more of the lower verticals in front of the wheel well. We're going to install the two verticals that are over the wheel well and add the Loctite PL everywhere that the wood will contact the metal. These two get installed roughly centered over the wheel well with about a 5 1/4 inch gap between them. Next, we're going to install the main horizontal for the lower section. It has all of the row of holes in it. So we're going to start like we did before by adding glue to all of the contact locations of the C-pocket joints. This gets installed into the upper set of C-pockets. And then we slide the horizontal towards the rear of the van to engage it to each of the rear verticals. If it's helpful, you can slightly shift to begin the engagement of each vertical before trying to slide the whole piece. Once all of the joints are fully seated and they're perpendicular, then we'll use our nail gun. Next, we're going to add the primary clips that hook the framing kit to the metal for the lower section. These will get Loctite PL between the wood to metal contact and then get wood glue between the wood to wood joint. It hooks behind the metal sets in behind the framing, and then we slide it down to fully engage the joint. Then we add a couple nails while the wood glue cures. Repeat these steps for the other clips and ensure that the framing kit is slid fully forward to where the inside face of the kit is contacting the metal. For when we get to the one clip further down, that actually gets installed facing backwards. That will set the correct forward and backward position of the kit in the van. The lower horizontal that wraps over the wheel well gets installed with wood glue at the C pocket joints. And it slides towards the rear of the van to fully engage. Once all connections are engaged and perpendicular, you can nail them. Now repeat this process for the front section of the lower driver's side wall. Notice that the bottom piece touching the floor has a groove along the bottom, a rabbit groove. That sits against the floor towards the inside of the van in order to miss the metal floor rib. Now to finish out the lower section, we're going to remove the lower horizontals that we haven't glued yet. We will add our Loctite PL along the bottom edge that will contact the floor of the van. And then we will add wood glue to the slots. Notice when you install, there's a tab on the bottom of the lower verticals that touches the back side of the lower horizontal. So we can tip this into place. It sits up on top of that weld bead of the van. And then the framing assembly slides down to where it's contacting fully inside the slot. We can then use our nail gun to put a nail at an angle so that that nail stays fully buried within the wood. It doesn't stick out the back side. Before the glue is cured, we're going to just make sure that the lower framing section is slid fully to the correct position. So we want the clips to be touching the metal in the front and back position, and then the framing assembly slid fully down so that the bottoms are resting on that weld bead. And then the front of the Sprinter does slope downwards. And so just as a double check to ensure that we don't have a shifting of our framing downwards, I'm going to do a quick measurement from the upper primary horizontal to the lower, the two with holes in them. If I just measure top to top, you get about 40.5 inches. That number is not exact, but the more important thing is that it's roughly the same at different spots along the van. If need be, you can shift your framing in the front up or down slightly to get a nice straight line of all those holes. When I took the measurements between the front, the middle, and the back portions, then I was within about 1/8 of an inch front to back of the van, and that's close enough for parallel between the upper and lower sections. The final step of installing the lower wall section is to add the Loctite PL behind the long skinny contact section between the metal and the wood. You can just slightly flex out the piece and inject the PL on one edge, and that will be good enough to prevent squeaking long term. Next, we're going to install the window box verticals on the left and right sides of each window. We're going to start by adding wood glue to the groove on the top that will engage with the upper horizontal, and to the tip of the bottom that will engage the lower horizontal. This piece hooks upwards around the groove in the upper horizontal and then sets backwards into the groove in the lower horizontal. We'll put a nail through the top to lock it into place, and put a nail diagonally on the bottom to lock this end in place. I meant to put the Loctite PL on the wood to metal contact area, but I'll do it now. Now we repeat this process for 4 more of the window box verticals. We'll leave the 6th one until a little bit later since it's unique. Next, we will install the upper and lower horizontals of each of the window boxes. They're going to slide into the grooves, and so we need wood glue in each of the slots and on each end. And then you slide it into place. When it's in its final position, the front edge should be flush with each of the lower verticals and the window box verticals. Make sure you raise the lower window box piece to the top of this end slot so that the next piece has space to slide in. Repeat the process for the other 5 window box horizontals. The very front window box vertical has a slightly different connection at the top. It's simply adding glue to that upper groove. The bottom is the same with the wood glue and the PL. We can set it in, engage it to the grooves of the window box horizontals we just installed, and with the inside edge flush, put a nail through that corner to lock it in place. If you didn't already install this piece at the same time as the lower window box horizontal, then it's time to install the support beneath it. So I'm going to add glue to all of the contact faces between those two pieces. Including the ends. And then slide it into place. With the front edge out and flush, we'll nail it. Repeat the process for the other two window boxes. Next, we'll install the verticals on either side of the window boxes. There are 4 of them. Just use wood glue. These are the wall panel mount locations. For the center pillars, these will bridge the verticals between the window box verticals. And then repeat that for 2 more times. The last step of your driver's side wall is to add in the optional covers, structure support behind the wall panels whenever you don't have a window or a flare cut out. So in this case we have a window in the front, we have flare cut out in the back, so we're only going to use these optional parts in the center of the 3 window boxes. So we have a set of verticals and horizontals. First I'll install the verticals, which is just a little tab at the top and bottom that get wood glue, and it slides into the notch in your upper and lower horizontals of the window box, and put a nail through the corner to nail it in place while the glue dries. Repeat this for the second vertical. Next we have 3 horizontals that fit into this space. The widest of the 3 will fit in the upper portion. The ends are angled to match the angles of your window box verticals, and so you will not be able to put it in the wrong way. The 2 lower horizontals that support the wall panels at the change in angles of the wall are both the same length as each other, but due to the angles of the window box verticals, one will be just slightly looser in the slot than the other. This one fits tightly, and this one has about a 1/16 of an inch of side-to-side play, so when you glue it in, just center it before you nail it. Now that we've finished the driver's side wall, we're ready to move on to the passenger side wall. The process is identical, the steps are the same. Pay attention that some of the parts are exactly the same part numbers used again, and some are mirrored parts with different part numbers. So just watch the part number map that we have in the instruction manual. There's a couple parts at the very end that are unique to the passenger side compared to the driver's side just because of the sliding door. So watch for those. All right, these two pieces on the passenger side are unique compared to the driver's side because we want to cap off the end of the wall that will go behind the sliding door. When we get the Go Code trim kit in here, this will be a nice finishing touch that a wall panel face can be finished. Now we're ready to begin our ceiling installation. So between each pair of these upper verticals on either side of the van, we will get a ceiling cross rib that's installed on the front face, the face towards the front of the van. These will first get Loctite PL in the upper corner of the vertical and the ceiling rib. We'll put wood glue on the contact face where they will touch, and then we will bolt that joint together. Let's get started. Now as we install the ceiling rib, it is symmetrical left and right, so it doesn't matter whether you install it with the words facing towards the front of the van or the back of the van. It's easiest to insert this if you put it into the pocket on one side, and then you can swing in the opposite side of the van, rotate it up into place, and then we are aligning the holes between the cross rib and the upper verticals. Now, with your 1/4-20 bolts that are supplied with the kit, you can insert it from the front of the van towards the rear. So it goes first through the ceiling rib and then into the hole of the vertical. We'll shift them around till the holes align. Do the same on the other side. And during that process, we'll flex the upper vertical into its correct final position. And now we install from the back of the van into the back face of the upper vertical the wood T-nuts. So you can start by getting that threaded into the bolt, and then we will tighten the bolts to draw in the T-nuts. This is preferable compared to hammering in the T-nut into the wood. It's preferable to just use the tightening of the bolt to draw that flange down until it's flush with the wood. In some tight corners, you may need to use a right angle adapter with your socket or just a hand socket wrench to fully tighten down that bolt. Now we're going to repeat that process 8 more times up until the back of the sliding door. These last 4 uprights across from the sliding door will not get glued just yet because they have a different type of ceiling rib, and we'll get to that soon. After you verified that all of your T-nuts are drawn fully into the wood, all your bolts are tight, then we're ready to move on to the lengthwise pieces in the ceiling. We have 4 of them that correspond with the 4 C pockets in the ceiling ribs. The outside C pockets towards the wall of the van are the lengthwise pieces without the holes, and the inside C pockets towards the center of the van have the row of holes. These are installed the same way as the parts on the wall, with wood glue at the connections for those C pockets. So in order to install these pieces, the same as the walls, we're going to lift it up into position, engage all of the row of C pockets, and then we're going to slide the entire piece towards the rear of the van to engage all of those C pockets. If you need to, you can get each joint just started, and that will help to make sure none of them are making it difficult on you. When the center rails are installed, you'll notice that there are some contact points between the top of the rail and the metal ceiling rib. We will add PL to the Loctite PL to these contact joints. As you get to the 4th of the ceiling lengthwise pieces, you'll notice that it gets just a little bit harder to start all of the individual C pocket joints, just because you're removing all the flex out of the system and it's getting really rigid. Now that the rear section of the ceiling structure is in, just do a verification that there's a nice straight line across the van from ceiling rib to ceiling rib, and this whole ceiling section, which can slightly shift forward and backward, is shifted to where these ceiling ribs are just straight across and not flexed forward or backward. Now that we've finished the main structure of the rear portion of the ceiling, we're going to move to the front portion of the ceiling. These next 2 pieces are for the mounting to the headliner rib up here in the van. So they have the same outer profile, and they'll get glued together, the edges aligned, and then we'll nail them. Both pieces are symmetrical left and right, but notice that one of the pieces has a groove along the top edge. That groove goes towards the outside of the assembly. And then nail them together. Ensuring no nails protrude out the back side. If, when you removed the foam blocks up here, you also removed this rubber tape, then you'll want to add PL to this surface before we add the wood. If you left this rubber tape there, you're good to go without PL. To install this, we're going to place the rabbet groove along the upper edge towards the top and towards the headliner roof rib. And then we're going to align the notch on the center top of this piece to the hole that's in the metal on the top of the van. And then we're going to slide it up to the ceiling to where it touches. Now that our part is in place, we're going to use the 4 wafer head self-drilling metal screws into the 4 holes to make this connection. While you're using the self-tappers, true of any self-tapping screws, you'll take a little bit of time and some force at the beginning for the tip to drill the hole, but then it'll catch quickly and drive in once that hole's drilled. The next step for the front ceiling section is we're going to do a little bit of pre-assembly of these 5 pieces before we lift it up. It'll save us a little bit of effort. These are the same C connections as we've been using throughout the rest of the build. We're going to use the driver's side but centered lengthwise piece, the one with holes in it, and we're going to use the front 4 ceiling ribs that only have the bolted connection on the driver's side. This lengthwise piece with holes goes in the second, the centered of the ceiling pockets, just the same as the holes in the rear of the van. And we're going to just do wood glue and a nail at these 4 connections. It is the front 4 C connections of this lengthwise piece. Let's get started and we'll show you how it goes. If you need to verify orientations before you wood glue and nail, go ahead and just dry assemble it, hold it in place and make sure you've got it right. With a headliner mount clip close at hand in your pocket or ready for a friend to hand to you, we're going to lift our assembly up into place. First, it's going to install in the C pocket at the rear end. And that will support that rear end. And now we go towards the front end. Up at the front here, it's going to sit against the headliner mount, and we can hook in the headliner mount clip from the side. When you have free hands, we're going to redo that but with glue and nails. Before you glue the headliner mount clip at the front end, we're going to, at the rear end, add a bridge clip between the lengthwise parts to ensure that the front lengthwise is fully seated backward in its correct position. Now it's time to remove this clip, add the glue, and reinstall. Now, if you haven't done so already, add PL Loctite to all of your contact points between the ceiling pieces and the metal, and do the same at your upper corners, and then we'll install the hardware. Next, we're going to install the lengthwise piece of the ceiling with holes in it on the passenger side. Do it without glue first, because we're going to have to do some further connection points. And also without glues just yet, we're going to install the bridge clip at the rear end of that passenger side piece and the headliner clip at the front. Now that this piece is fully installed with no glues yet, you'll notice that there are 3 counterbore holes that align with ribs in the ceiling, and so we're going to install a plus nut in order to support this side of the framing and a bolt through on those 3 locations. You can use a 1/4 inch drill bit to drill that hole with your board pressed all the way to the ceiling. You're only drilling through the bottom layer of the metal. You don't go through the ceiling of the van. Now I'm going to remove this piece, drill out those 3 holes to 3/8 of an inch, and then install our 1/4 20 plus nuts. For installing the plus nuts into the holes, you can use one of the nicer double handle tools, or you can use a simpler hex and bolt tool with the impact driver. Going to reinstall our lengthwise piece with wood glue at the wood to wood joints and Loctite at the wood to metal joints. Like straining. Now it's time to install our 3 bolts to our 3 plus nuts through those holes in the framing. Now it's time to install the lengthwise ceiling pieces near the edges of the van with wood glue, Loctite, PL, and the bridge clips, just as before. This step is optional, but If you have any of the ribs that are contacting the ceiling, you may put a line of PL into that joint to make sure that there's no squeaking between those parts over time. Now we're going to install the ceiling panel mount plates to each of the ceiling ribs with wood glue at the wood joints. Now repeat that step 12 more times for all the ceiling ribs. Your kit also comes with 2 fan boxes that can be used for fans or ACs with a 14x14 opening. Assemble these with wood glue and nails. In any locations that you want to install a 14x14 fan cutout for a fan or an air conditioner, then you can cut along the lines inscribed on the ceiling mount plates, and you can install the ceiling fan box up into that location to where it's flush with the bottom of the ceiling. After your fan box is cut and installed all the way up to the ceiling with wood glue and nails, then the ceiling box itself acts as the bridging structure to complete the full archway from the driver's side to the passenger side. And you can now cut through your 14x14 opening through the ceiling for your appliance. The next optional upgrade, if you desire, in your framing kit is you can add L-tracks to the walls and the ceiling in order to mount removable pieces or to mount your cabinets. You'll see there's a lower lengthwise piece with all the holes that you can install furniture threaded inserts at 1-inch spacings on whichever matches your brand of L-track for the lower. It's also true for the upper wall and the ceiling, and when L-tracks are mounted here, they're at 12.5 inches from the finished corner to match several popular brands of upper cabinets you can purchase online. Wherever you need your L-track mounting connections for 1/4 bolts, you can install the furniture inserts until they're flush. Throughout the framing kit, I've given you pass-through holes in order to run all of your wiring through the wood instead of running it across the sharp edges of the metal van, so you don't have to run it behind inside the steel. You can go over the wheel well with zip tie points. You can run up the pockets and up pillars and run down the upper and the ceiling channels. We've completed the framing kit installation on your Sprinter 170. Go out and have an adventure.
Congratulations, you have finished installing your Sprinter framing kit. From all of us here at Noke Van Co., we wish you safe but exciting adventures.